Open up your eyes, it's all brand new. Every wish you make can still come true.
Hi folks, I'm Richard Duby, and this is Think About It. And I know this is not our usual Think About It set, but this is a special Think About It. And my guest today is a very old friend of mine. Not that he's very old, but we have been friends for over 35 years. This is Chef Andy Rolleri, and Andy is going to cook for you today. So Andy, why don't you give my audience a little bit of your history of how you come to cooking?
Okay. I grew up in Connecticut. My family owned a restaurant and a fish market, and I worked there as a kid from the time I was probably 13 or 14 until I was maybe 18 or 19. Went to Culinary Institute up in New York State, and then after that I kind of just traveled around in different restaurants, hotels. I've worked all over the place, California, New York, France, and now I own a specialty food store in Connecticut, in Fairfield, called The Pantry. And we do like prepared foods and catering and pastries and stuff like that. I was the pastry chef there for 20 years or so, and then right when COVID came around, I flipped it over to my very capable pastry chef, Veronica, and my business partner, Kirsten, is still there at the store. I retired, my other business partner retired, and we still operate to this day.
And with all that, what are you going to be making today?
So today I'm making simple pasta, ricotta cheese gnocchi with just a plain tomato, basic marinara sauce. I'm going to do a dessert, which is an almond tuile. It's like it looks like a little tile for a roof, and that with creme fraiche and some fresh berries with lemon and a little bit of sugar.
Now the gnocchi does not have potato in it.
No potato. It's ricotta cheese, flour, which is Caputo 00 flour, which is popular for pizza, and it's egg and salt. That's it.
I think we can turn this down a little so that we don't
Okay.
steam ourselves. There we go.
Okay, so we can keep that off for the time being.
Okay, so what's the first step? What are we doing first?
So I'm going to make the marinara pomodoro sauce. So real simple, and obviously if you don't like that, you can use bolognese sauce or pesto. This is just something that is a typical quickie dinner for me. Normally what I do is I'll make a batch of these, stick them in my freezer, which I already did today, and then we'll pull out maybe a third or half or whatever, and we'll have it for dinner with some pesto or marinara or bolognese sauce or something like that.
So
first thing I'm going to do is onions, garlic, a little olive oil in the pan, saute that, add Italian peeled tomatoes. I strongly suggest a good quality tomato for the sauce because it makes a difference. Salt, a little oregano, crushed red pepper. Clearly you can put in whatever other ingredients you want. I do have a recipe which I guess we can put into a link at some point.
Absolutely.
So there's recipes for everything. I'm going to make the gnocchi first. The marinara sauce first. Let that simmer on the side for a little bit. Then I'm going to make the gnocchi dough. Put that on the side. And then I'm going to make the almond tuile batter, and we'll bake a few and do the berries and stuff, and by the time it's done we'll be able to make a dish with pasta, marinara sauce, and the dessert.
Let's start.
Okay, so I have, this is about a bulb of garlic, a little bit less, and then I'm going to take about a half of a Spanish onion. I'm just going to stick this on the side because I don't particularly need it. And then the olive oil, about maybe quarter cup or so. Depends on, you know, if you like, my wife really loves her sauce to be oily. Let's see if I can get this.
There you go.
All right, so I'm going to put the oil on like medium-ish. You know, it's on number 8. I've never cooked with this kind of stove, so if we have some technical difficulties, please forgive it. And I'm just going to do like a, you know, smaller size diced onion, and
You don't cry when you do this.
I don't cry normally. Sometimes if I work 14 hours a day in the kitchen, I cry, but I don't do that anymore. So,
See, it would take me 10 minutes to do this onion, and crying like a baby.
so I just try to have an even size, so it cooks evenly when you cook it. And this is, you know, heating up. It's not, I guess it's pretty hot actually. So that's, like I said, I've never cooked with an induction stove, so it's already hot. You don't want it to be smoking hot because it ruins the olive oil, and also, you know, it's just not necessary. You don't want to burn or brown the onions. You just want to cook them until they're translucent. And so I'm going to let that go. And then the garlic, you can, you know, this is fresh garlic, you know, try not to buy the stuff from China if possible. Sorry about that if anybody's used to that, but the jarred garlic is really not great. Fresh garlic is, you know, wins every time, and this is this is the, you know, you can take this and just either crush it up in coarse chunks or mince it, or if you have a garlic press, you can do that as well. That just will press it into like a pre-minced size. It all depends on your personal preference. I do it depending on what I'm into. I use a garlic press at my house. I don't typically do like a paste unless I'm making a salad or something like that. And
now you're cutting off the ends of each segment.
Yep, I'm taking there's a little piece on the bottom of each thing that attaches to the root of the garlic. So I'm taking that off, that little brown piece, if you can see that on the camera. I'm just taking that off. And peeling off the paper from the outside. You know, if you don't like garlic, you don't have to use it, you know. It's not required.
I never know how much whole garlic like this to put in anything that I have cooked. I mean, how do you know that you're not over?
It's personal preference.
Yeah.
For example, you know, like I think that's probably enough. I might just put one more in for good measure, but you know, it's personal preference. Like the other night, I made a pasta dish, and I put broccoli and garlic, and I did cheese tortellini with it, and I put in a lot of garlic, and I loved it. I mean, we both really liked it, but I didn't really realize how garlicky it was until the next day when we had leftovers, and I kind of was like, whoa, you know, we were eating it at 10:30 in the morning for, you know, late breakfast, and it just hit hard, you know. I was like, man, there's a lot of garlic in here.
And the other thing I notice about you and other professional chefs is you clean up as you go along. Your workstation is...
Yeah, you have to do that. So I like that, like a coarse chop. And it cooks down. It's not like you're going to get a chunk of garlic and gag on it, you know.
Yeah.
It cooks out and it mellows out. So it's really not as dramatic as it might seem. So I personally like pieces of garlic, and a lot of times, like I said, I'll change it with what I'm making. You know, this is fragrant garlic. You know, the garlic is fragrant right now, so I don't want to really brown any. I don't, you know, that's why I like this. This is not number 8 setting, so I guess it's like medium high. You can see the onions. I guess you can see that on the camera. So the onions and garlic are cooking, but there's no color in it.
If they were overcooking, there would be color?
What happens is you start to get browning,
Yeah,
especially because there's sugar in both of them.
Gotcha.
And so I have here some just regular jarred oregano. You can use fresh oregano if you want.
What's this?
This is crushed red pepper, and gives it. It's definitely gives it a little heat. So I'm putting in about maybe a half a teaspoon there. So I'll add that in with the onions and the garlic. And then back here I have, basically what I did was I took, after painstakingly opening a can of tomatoes with a can opener that I don't know how to use, I took a can of these. These are genuine Italian peeled tomatoes. So I took these, crushed them by hand, and put them into this dish. So this is, less than 5 minutes on the stove.
Now wait, before you do that, why do you have to crush them?
I crush them just so it breaks up. I either crush them by hand here, or I dump them in and crush them with a spoon or whatever. It just eliminates having to crush them up in the pot.
I'll take that from you.
Thank you. So I crush them up by hand and put them in there, and then I just want to bring this up to a simmer. And then I'm done with this. I'm going to take a little bit of oregano. I dropped most of this on the floor, but I was able to salvage this much kept on the dish. So this is what the recipe now calls for, the exact amount.
Modified recipe.
So I take this and just kind of rub it a little bit just to give it open up the flavors a little bit on it.
Now this should come to a boil. Is that what?
Come up to a simmer, and then I'm gonna take this and lower it down so it's just kind of bubbling.
Gotcha.
We got a little bit of time because we're waiting. We're gonna make the gnocchi dough next, and let me just go up here. So I'll go to 6. I'm gonna put in,
How much salt?
this is about, maybe 1.5 teaspoons, 2 teaspoons, kosher salt. Now, once again, if you don't like salt, the tomatoes don't really have salt in them. Good tomatoes are not salted and are very lightly salted, canned tomatoes, and cheaper tomatoes are going to have a lot of salt in them. So you don't really, you do it to taste, how you like it.
And you normally taste this, I mean, not now, but you normally taste this
I
as you
would,
go along
yeah,
with
so
it.
I would, this is typically something I would cook for about half an hour. And then what I'll do is I'll taste it and adjust it at that point. So I may add a little bit of water to it to thin it out. I may add, if I wanted to, I could put like capers and parsley and put it for fish, chopped up anchovies or something, or olives. So it's kind of like a base sauce. And so this is just plain and simple, straight away marinara. And the only thing I'm not putting in, which I'm going to add, is I have fresh basil back there, which I just picked from Rich's backyard or the side of the deck. So I'm going to put in fresh basil, but I'm not going to put it in until we're ready to serve it. So that's that, and I'm just going to put the handle out of the way, and I guess, leave it around medium 7 or so.
All right.
And see, if it starts bubbling a lot, then I'll knock it down a little bit, and as long as it stays where it is, then I'm good.
What do we do next?
So next I'm going to make the gnocchi dough, which is, I actually made one recipe of it before, and I'm just remaking the same exact recipe now. Should I bake this on this side, or
that's okay.
does it matter? So
Let's get this.
this is the recipe.
Actually, it would be better if we took that and put it on the cutting board.
Okay.
And they can
Yep.
see it.
So I just need to scale a couple of ingredients into it. And this is real simple. So, you know, gnocchi means dumpling. That's the, or lump, I think that it translates to. So in Italian. So they make potato gnocchi in the northern part of Italy. They make the ricotta cheese gnocchi, or they use pecorino cheese in the southern part of Italy. I think every country kind of has their own version of gnocchi. So if you were in Hungary, you would use, they make noodles and spatzel and all kinds of other stuff. So I love stuff like this. And I find that the ricotta cheese gnocchi is just more consistent, easier to make. There's less variables because sometimes the potatoes, they get gummy and people say, I had gnocchi, they were like a lead ball. These come out the same all the time and they're easy to make. So available in pretty much every supermarket.
Although tough to find in some.
We did have a challenge to find this last night in the market that we were at, but it's widely available, you know, not difficult. It says to drain it and strain it, but this particular type of ricotta, like the fresh ricotta that comes in a tin with holes in the side, that's something that you would drain to get the excess water out for half an hour in a colander. This one, there's just a little bit of water on top. I'm just going to dump it to get it out of there. And then I have my spatula here, which I'm just going to take this is a 1 pound container of ricotta cheese. And the recipe calls for 1 egg and 1 egg yolk from a large egg. So I already saved an egg white because I need it for the dessert. So I saved my egg white already. But if you were making this exact thing, you could save an egg, which would save you $1 these days, for not, by saving the white, And so it's 1 egg, 1 yolk. Thank you. A teaspoon kosher salt. I'm going to also salt this water while I'm over here with my hand dipped in. Should have a good amount of salt in the water when you're
boiling
making.
Too much?
Yeah, I'll knock it down a little bit. Water for pasta should be not like you're drowning in the ocean, but it should be salted so you taste it, because it gives the pasta, it keeps the pasta, with good flavor.
Should we be turning this one on?
Yeah. So this one.
There you go.
Okay. So I have in here the ricotta, salt, egg, whole egg, and egg yolk. And don't need that for now. And then I'm just going to mix this together. I'm actually going to. And this is basically just combining all these ingredients, together like that. I grated this before. This is 4 3/4 ounces of Parmesan cheese. So I grated that before. I'm going to mix that in.
What's the difference between mixing and folding? I hear them both.
You know, folding, I think, is more when you're making like a batter, like a cake batter, and you're folding in like, you know, the raspberries or something at the end. It's kind of like more, I guess, denotes being more gentle, or, you know, like you kind of like flip it over and fold it onto itself. And then the last ingredient is 12 ounces of Caputo flour. So I'm just zeroing out the scale with the spatula in it. Probably better to sift it, but not the end of the world if you don't. And you definitely don't want the spoon in there either. Although that. Yeah, I was going to say it stopped registering for a second there, so I actually have too much now.
Point, 12 points, going down now.
Yep. Okay. This scale is a little slow on the draw. 12. All right, so now this is still going to use this later. Hold on to it, but this is the recipe scaled out, and I just kind of mix it together until it's going to form a dough, and then you don't really want to over mix it, because then that's when it gets tough. So you're kind of just mixing it until you get the ingredients incorporated together, and then stop, basically. And you can use your hand, or you can use the spatula. I used my spatula first, and then I switched to my hand when I got towards the end. So I'm going to do the same thing again this time. And anybody that's freaking out about me not wearing gloves right now, if your hands are clean, it's just as good as a glove, because a dirty glove is just as bad as a dirty hand, probably worse. That's my take on it.
Now we're going to be eating this when everything is done.
Right,
so.
and you're also it's something that you're cooking, so
yeah.
It's much, if I was tossing a salad, then yes, gloves. If I was slicing, half a pound of prosciutto, then yes, glove. But for this, it's completely fine to do that. So I've kind of mixed this together. It looks kind of like a little bit of a shaggy dough. A little bit of flour on the outside of it is not the end of the world.
Is that what shaggy means? When you say shaggy dough?
So when I say like a shaggy dough, like if I make biscuits, when I take it out, it looks like it's not mixed. But then by the time you get done rolling and folding the biscuits, we make biscuits with butter layered between the rolls. And when you do that, it looks shaggy, but it comes together.
Gotcha.
So it's fully mixed when it's done. So that's the way the dough looks. Now, I'm just going to stick this in the fridge. And use my back. A little quick funny story. I'm thinking back of at my store. One time somebody folded a bowl scraper, which is like a piece of plastic like that big, into a bowl of chocolate mousse. It was like this big, and somehow it got left in the batter and then put into the center of a chocolate mousse cake. So you definitely want to be sure you're handling and paying attention to what you're doing when you're cooking food, especially when you're under pressure and rushing and whatever, you know. So this has been, 10 minutes on the stove, and you can. I personally like sauces that have some acidity to them, so you can do this sauce and just do it like this with the basil and finish it and be done, or you can do like, add lemon zest and lemon juice to it to brighten it up even more. You can put in different kinds of herbs for different, tastes or flavors. But I like a kind of a brighter, acidic sauce. I also like sauces that, Grandma throws on the stove for, 45 hours and lets it cook for 2 days, and you got everything in it. So I'm going to make the tuile batter here next. All right, so this.
What is tuile?
Tuile means tile.
Okay.
So like like they have those tiled roofs in Europe and France and everything. So if you go to Paris and you go to the pastry shops, you see these little cookies that are shaped like a tile, like a tuile, and it's a crispy, like almond, or they do them with pistachios and hazelnuts and everything else. But there's almond tuile is most of the pastry shops on the street in.
I'll take care of that.
Okay.
You continue.
Okay. So I have to get the recipe out for this because I just can't remember everything on it. I pre-weighed some sugar back at Rich's house. I have a vanilla bean here, a recipe here, a little more Caputo flour, and this is 1.5 tablespoons, or I'm sorry, 1 tablespoon, 2.5 teaspoons of butter, which I'm going to melt right now. And so I'm going to put the sugar. Okay. That sounds like it's making a mess. It's another piece of equipment that I never use. It's okay. So I just wanted to melt some butter there, but so in any case, I'm putting in the sugar to tear this off.
How much sugar?
This is 3.5 tablespoons, but it ends up being 1.6 ounces. Generally speaking, I weigh 99% of everything I make. I weigh it because it's just easier.
Now you're used to doing huge volume, so you have to scale everything.
Yeah, we do it for consistency because when you're weighing ingredients and you're making stuff, you want everything to come out the same all the time. So this is 1 tablespoon of flour. So this is a teaspoon, so I'm going to do 3 teaspoons, is the equivalent of a tablespoon. And this, once again, this is a recipe that when we've made it in the past at the store or in places that I've worked, we're making a bowl that makes 200 of these, and then
This is not.
it's an angry oven. So you can use, the recipe listed is vanilla extract, but you can also use a vanilla bean. And since I made Rich's, dare I say, 80th birthday cake yesterday, and I used a vanilla bean for the syrup to brush on the cake, I also am using a other half of the vanilla bean for the tuiles today, and it really, I mean, these are super expensive, but it really does make a difference if you use the vanilla bean in this. I'm going to save this for Penny. They do make a difference if you use a real vanilla bean versus vanilla extract. It just kind of pops, you know. And so I mix this together first, which is the sugar, flour, and the vanilla bean, and kind of just rub the seeds kind of the bean kind of permeate the mixture. And I have my egg white that I saved from the gnocchi before.
Yeah.
So I'm going to add that to it. And sorry for the hands again, and you know, this is a much more scaled down version of what we would typically make at the store. And this is a 2-cup container, so I need 1/3 of a cup of almonds, and these are lightly toasted, sliced almonds. You can use the ones that have the skins on or no skins. It doesn't affect the taste at all. So I'm mixing in the almonds, and then last the melted butter. And like I said, this is a very, if you do go to Paris and go to any pastry shop, you would see these in literally any of them. They all make their version of it. So I'm going to leave that on the side. I'm going to clear this out, rinse off my hands. And they're not great in humid weather at all. So it would be a good, you know, nice dessert if you're going to make, you know, bake it and serve it. But if you're making it in the middle of August and it's hot and humid, probably make it and serve it, or just choose a different thing.
Yeah,
Hopefully we'll have a method to bake these in a moment. Put this over here. Okay, so I'm lowering this way down. For the tuiles, we're doing the oven momentarily, but you can make this ahead of time, the mixture, and stick it in the fridge up to a week, and it's fine. Just covered, leave it in the refrigerator. Once you make them and bake them, you need to basically serve them within, you know, either in an airtight container, it's fine, or you need to serve them, you know, within, you know, a day. They're like I said, the humidity is not your friend. So,
well, we will see if this oven is going to cooperate with us. It just shut itself off again.
Okay, we have an angry oven.
Tell me about it.
And so what you do with these is you put about a good heaping tablespoon of the batter onto it. This is just a regular cookie tray with parchment paper. They come off the paper a little easier if you spray it or if you put melted butter on and brush it on. You can also use a Silpat. That works too, but they stick on those too. So you even though they're non-stick, a Silpat is a silicone baking mat. So if you put them on a Silpat, they'll still stick. If you put them on a parchment like this, I find they, with butter and parchment, they come off pretty easily and not a problem. So these, I just say you tap them out. So you're just trying to get tap out like an even layer. It actually is beneficial if you take like a little container of milk and you dip your finger in it and then you kind of like spread the, tap it out to get a little water on there and then just tap it out with the milk on your fingers. So that kind of works like that. And basically you're just looking for even because even means that they're going to bake evenly. And you want them to turn golden brown together, so.
Hold your places, guys. Keep going.
Folks, as will happen in life, things don't always go as planned. And what has happened is our oven has ceased to be. It is now a very good-looking paperweight. So to accommodate that, Andy is going to, are you going to alter the size of these?
No, I'm going to still bake them. I'm just going to bake less.
Okay, what we're doing, believe it or not, is going to what a lot of us used in college, or if you were on an army base and you were in the barracks and you had one of these. We're going to cook it in a toaster oven as opposed to a regular oven. And
so we're down to 2.
We're down to 2. So as opposed to baking for the entire crew here at FCTV, right now, Andy and I are going to eat those. As there are only 2, and we'll go from there. So bear with us. This is what happens in real life, and nothing we can do about it. So where are we now, Andy?
All right. So now I'm making the berry mixture that's going to go with the 2 eels, hopefully. So I have some raspberries and blackberries that I rinsed off and put into the refrigerator before. Sugar, a little lemon juice. I'm going to throw a little bit of lemon zest in there.
So we're not relying on any other devices right now.
No, we're set. we are device. Have ridden ourselves from technology for the remainder of the day.
Thomas Edison is turning over in his grave right now.
So I'm put a little lemon zest in there, a little bit of sugar. You don't need sugar is you put in what you feel like putting in. Originally, I was going to do this with strawberries. I went to the market last night and I thought the raspberries and blackberries looked better, so I decided to go with that. And then I am just putting in some lemon juice to kind of give it a little bit of brightness to the berry mixture. And get rid of that. And I'm just going to keep my eye on these 2 eels so they don't. I've not baked in a toaster oven since I was in college, which is.
I'll keep an eye on them.
A really long time ago. And I'm adding like literally a tablespoon of water just to give it a little bit of juice.
Can I take a spoon and taste that?
Sure. Then I have my my berries here. And
Disposable spoon. So,
yeah, so I'm still gonna add basil to that, but you can tell me if you think it needs salt or anything.
that is good. That is really good.
All right,
No, it does not need salt, in my opinion,
okay.
which matters a great deal.
So this is from Rich's and Penny's garden. I'm just gonna throw a little bit of mint in
That's strictly Penny.
there. Okay, so
Nothing to do with it.
I'm gonna take a little fresh mint, and I'm gonna take the basil out at the same time because I'm gonna use that in the sauce. And my knife back. So the mint,
I have to interrupt you. How long does it take to develop knife skills like that?
I mean, you can, some people have a good aptitude for that and pick it up right away. We used to cut potatoes and turnips in culinary, so they give you cheap stuff to use, and you learn how to do small dice, medium dice, large dice, whatever. And then,
I would be using my fingers, is what would be
well,
being cut.
I've gotten cut plenty of
I'm
times in the past. You only get 10 chances before you're done. And then the basil, I'm killing this sauce right now. The heat on it.
Is this from Penny's garden?
This is from the deck. So she's got these in pots on the deck.
Oh, I gotcha.
And this is just regular fresh basil. Basil goes great with berries. If you wanted to get fancy, you could put fresh basil in with the berries and wow everybody. And instead of mint, I just figured since I was already doing it with the berries,
sure.
I would.
Hey, listen, I'm wowed by the fact that we're doing haute cuisine in a toaster oven.
When I was in culinary school, we used to bake bread and proof it in the bathroom. So we would turn on the shower and light up the whole floor of the dormitory with fresh baked bread. I guess that was a kind of an omen that I was going to become a pastry chef at some point. So that's the sauce is kind of that's it. I'm good with that. I'll show you how to roll the gnocchi out.
And when I tasted the sauce, absolutely delicious. It does have a little bit of a kick. So
Yeah,
nothing serious.
It has crushed red pepper in it.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can eliminate that if you wanted to without an issue. But I don't like anything that's too in your face. You know.
Right.
So I like a little bit of heat, but not anything that you're being sent out to the ER for tongue replacement.
So how are they doing?
These are going. They're browning up. Once again, I don't have super high expectations, but
Why don't you put it over here?
yeah, so that you can see they're coloring. So if you don't let them cook all the way, they're like tough, so they have to be uniformly brown through the whole cookie. So that color across the board, like the edge of that cookie is done. So I'm going to leave these in here for another couple minutes, and I'll put this on the side, and then I'll show you how to roll the dough for the gnocchi.
Okay, you want the cutting board for that?
No, I can do it right on the counter.
On the counter?
Yeah. So this is the dough we made, that I made 10 minutes ago or 20 minutes ago or whatever. And my rolling pin is over here.
We made it an oven ago. That's when we made it.
Right, exactly. So you would just, typically what I do is I make this dough I cover it with plastic wrap. I sit down, have a cocktail, and then I come back in 15 minutes and roll it out. So it's not you know, takes 20 minutes to roll them all out. So I just take this and I try to put it into a relatively even shape. You know, you want to get the gnocchi to be approximately the same size so that they are going to cook evenly and present evenly. So do that. Keeping my eye on that pasta back there, the cookies. And then, you know, I just take this and so I cut strips like that. We're taking that home later. I cut strips and then I turn them 90 degrees and then I just cut. The oven's back on.
Talking to us.
Okay. So
I have no idea what that beeping is.
this is the other portion of the dough that I had. So basically what I do is I take these little pieces that I just cut and rolled, and you take the fork like this and you just push it into your hand, and these little ridges hold the sauce together. So you do that and that. You can put a little semolina or a little flour down on the tray.
Let's bring this in a little bit. Just so.
Yep. So if I was doing the cold ones, the ones I just made, they roll the same way. And I wouldn't, I wouldn't make this and like leave it in the refrigerator for 6 hours because the dough would get a skin on it, So I would make it and either cover it with plastic and roll it out, or do whatever the other way to roll it out. So you're doing that with it, and then you can either take these, and I don't have any additional flour on my hands at this point. I'm not adding anything to the dough. But you take these and you would put that either right into the freezer and save them for another day. Once they're frozen, you can drop them in a Ziploc bag and hold on to them, or you can take them and put them into a pot of boiling water, which is what we're going to do right now, and cook them and eat them.
So we want those out of there.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to take this, and this I'm going to save and take it home. We're going to eat it tonight for dinner, and then the ones that I made, we're going to cook now for these guys here.
Not that they deserve it or anything.
All right. And
Whoa, look at that.
That's done. So these,
Look at that.
what you want to do is, while they're warm, and you make you form them while they're warm, and you make the tuile shape. So they actually have pans, they call them a plaque à tuile, that you set these into, and they form into that classic. As they cool off, they harden.
Incredible.
So these, clearly the toaster oven is not our friend. But they're, so once they're, I'll just put them off to the side here, like that. So they cook like that, and then This must be a very temperamental sort of a stove that, you know, it doesn't like being turned
Left
off
alone.
and left alone. So these are the gnocchi that we made earlier, and they're frozen. There's a couple of fresh ones mixed in there for good measure. Sorry, these are crushed, but
Why don't I just eat them and tell everybody how good they are?
they are good. They're one of my favorite cookies. They're just, you know, they're just, they don't like toaster ovens. So in any case, I got the salted water, sauce is ready. These cook in a couple of minutes. As soon as they float up to the top of the water, they're cooked. That's typically what the, you know, what the thing is. I have a little colander here to drain them. And my sauce is ready to go.
What are we doing? What are we doing with these?
I'm going to whip up a little cream and serve it with those.
Got it.
So that should be all right. It's not rapidly boiling, but it's, you don't want to just leave them in the bottom. You want to give them a little movement.
Well, I could feel like I'm useful and I can do that.
And
I think we may have to turn this up a bit. There you go. Do we call the electrician now?
we actually catered a party in New York City in a loft downtown. When we first opened the store, it was for my business partner's older sister, and Con Ed had some sort of an issue, and the electricity was out for like the first 2.5 hours of the party. So we were scrambling. We were heating up crab cakes in a toaster oven, and it was crazy. But we did it, and it was, you know, it was a big deal for us because it was like one of the first sort of big parties that we had, you know, handled, you know.
I'm going to see if that works.
So usually what my go-to for these to be done is as soon as you see like 4 or 5 float to the surface, they're cooked.
That's it. What's the normal cook time for this?
It's 2 minutes. Out of the freezer, you know, maybe 3 minutes. So, and you'll see them. They you know, you see 1 or 2 pop up, then a few more
I should
pop
get forks out, right?
yeah. And this is a little garnish, even though it's mint. We'll pretend it's basil, since we're pretending that that's an oven that works. We'll pretend that it's.
I see. They're coming up to the surface.
So they're starting to pop up to the
Yeah.
surface. So that's the signal to turn them, you know, turn them off, or to drain them. And I'm gonna do this, and yeah, drop it right in there. Thank you. So I'm gonna just, that's the cooked pasta. I'm just gonna add it to the sauce and mix in, and clearly we wouldn't be plating this like this in a fancy restaurant. We would be more meticulous, and I guess one more person's going to have a chance to eat here.
Yes, I'm going to make Bruce come in here.
Go for it.
Bruce, get in here. Come here. This is my producer, my camera person, my director.
And if you want, I got a little tiny bit of extra cheese we can throw on there, and right here. There's not a lot, so
Not for me.
not for Rich.
You thought this was going to be a bad day, right? No.
So this one's a little saucier than the other ones.
Well,
And
I'm going to ask Gail in the control room to come in here. Gail, would you come in here, please? You're going to go on camera and you're going to eat. Come on.
okay, well, we finally figured out how to work the induction cooktop.
You have a fork for you.
Yeah.
Come. Oh, there, it's here, Ange.
You got a fork there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gail. Come on, get in here.
And so these are ricotta cheese gnocchi.
Oh,
Delicious.
that is good.
Sauce is awesome too.
Oh, what's that?
The sauce.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. I'm making a pig of myself. Andy, absolutely delicious. Really, really
Absolutely.
delicious.
Thanks.
So,
Thank you.
oh, and we can't ignore these.
Yeah. So I have, these are, this is like
Thank you.
a little bit of a letdown for what
Yes.
what it is. It still will taste the same. It's just the shape is different. Obviously, toaster oven is not ideal for those, but
Oh,
it's a really good cookie. And you see how the vanilla really gives you that, pops the flavor,
yes, yes. Well, gang, I'm going to step over here. That's it for this edition of Think About It. My lifelong buddy, Andy
Thank you.
Rolleri,
Thanks.
is here. Bruce, Gail, and Marilyn, who's still in the control room. Thank you all very much. You know that we're on every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. You know that you can get in touch with us by writing an email to goandthinkaboutit@gmail.com. You know you can find us at YouTube by searching for Richard Duby, Go and Think About It. And that's it. We will see you for the next edition. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Open up your eyes, it's all brand new. Every wish you make can still come true. I'm an old man, but I have wishes for you. Stay young at heart, be an old soul.